Hello guys, welcome back to Lifecycle. This is the channel where we discuss everything and anything, and let's go to today's topic. Today we are going to discuss about visa concepts, and in this today visa concepts topic we are going to cover USA visas and what are different types available and how we can enter US with this kind of types and what are the options available after this visa expires. Let's discuss about them right away. And before we go into visas, let's see few of the important terms that we need to understand. First one is like passport. As you know, passport is one of the main important document that anyone need to be there in order to travel outside of your own country. And the next one is visa. Visa is nothing but entry permit. Just like how we go to any movie theater, we have to buy a ticket. Similarly, if you want to go to any other country, we need to have the visa. Next one is intent. Intent is nothing but the purpose of the entry. Entering US on temporary activities like non-immigration intent because you are not staying forever and you tend to come back to your own country for your work basis. And entering USA for long term or settle down is immigration intent, and we have to prove this intent for free of the visas. Next one is USCIS. It's an administration division which regulates visa processing. US is in short of United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. Next term is port of entry. Port of entry is nothing but the airport when you land in US first time. For example, if you're traveling from Bombay to Chicago, if you start a flight in Bombay and land in Chicago, then Chicago will be your port of entry. Next one is STEM. STEM is short form of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It actually denotes the background or a profession of an individual. Okay, let's dive into the visa types. First of all, let's see what are the different student visa types available. Among the student visas, F1 visa is the most famous. Let's dive into F1 visa. F1 visa is mainly for STEM education. As we discussed before, STEM is mainly for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This is only available for these kind of education and professional background people. Through F1 visa, we can apply for bachelor's, master's, and even PhD. F1 visa has a lot of documentation required. First of all, F1 visa need to have all the academic documentation handy. Along with that, we need to have few references from our university professors that we are extraordinary in these subjects, or we have this intention throughout our career to improve our education or study abroad in order to elevate our scope of knowledge. So these things will help a lot in order to get a visa. And along with these references, we need to have GRE and TOEFL. GRE is exam, mostly it will test your mathematics and English knowledge, whereas TOEFL will test your language ability. For example, how you can communicate in English and how you can write, and those things will be considered as part of TOEFL. For most of the US universities, these two are must and should. Some universities will take IELTS as well, but they are very rare, at least for US universities. Some universities do provide without GRE and TOEFL as an entry, but for that you need to prove that you have extraordinary experience in your background. Always please check about the universities which are giving entrance to the university without this course, because there are many fraudulent universities in US lately which are giving and encashing international students. Please wary of that, because you are the one who will end up in trouble at the end of the day, not the university. Along with GRE and TOEFL, we also need to get I-20 from the university. I-20 is nothing but that your application is approved by the university, that you are eligible in order to study in their university with your background and your score. So it's basically helpful in order to get your F1 visa. And in order to get a F1 visa, we need to go for stamping. For visa stamping, you have to go to a consular office with an appointment. Once you get the appointment, visa consular office will check your intent of the student, whether the student intends to study and not to settle in US after their education. This is very important for F1 visa. The F1 visa is purely for study and education, not to settle down and stay in US for long term. So you have to prove that you will come back to your own country after your education. This can be proved by showing love to the country or by showing your assets by your family and even your family businesses if there are any. The duration of F1 visa is always depends on the course duration. If the extension is required, we need to provide the proof of course extension to proceed with the F1 extension. F1 is only valid while you are on the course. The course duration varies depending on the course. It can range from 1 year to 5 years and even more depending on your course of education. Once F1 completes, student can choose optional practical training or even curricular practical training and pursue H1B or other visas depending on their experience and background. We'll discuss these later. Let's go and discuss about optional practical training for F1 visas. So optional practical training, in short, we call it as OPTs. For F1 students, the initial OPT duration is 12 months and it can be further extended for 24 months. The Obama administration has introduced the extension to the OPT for 24 months. OPT helps in gaining practical and internship after your education. There are few restrictions for OPT though. It's not a work permit. It's actually a training or internship visa where you should work under a OPT employer under direct supervision, which means you should work at your employer location, not at the client location. For example, if you got OPT through Infosys, you should work only at Infosys office under your supervisor. It should not be at your Infosys client location. In the duration of OPT 3 years, it's good time to get a H1B visa if you are planning to work in US and eventually migrate. Even though F1 visa is not for long-term stay, you should be able to transfer your visa to H1B and change your intent to a long-term stay. Along with OPT, there is one more option for F1 students, which is curricular practical training. CPT is the most controversial program, but the beauty of this program is you can do second masters, and at the same time, this program provides you the permission to work for full time. So how it works? So generally, many universities offer weekend courses and they'll let you work over the week in any other company. Just like OPT, CPT lets you work in any other employer with a supervision. But we need to check the immigration attorney before pursuing this option. There are many situations where international students are arrested and barred from US because of getting this type of visa. CPT is valid as long as the course is eligible and it's going on. But please make sure with immigration attorney or with other colleagues before going for CPT. After F1, we have one more type of student visa, which is M1 visa. M1 visa is mainly for vocational courses. It's not for STEM education. M1 can be granted for programs like pilot, arts, or any other vocational courses. Just like F1 visa, the duration of the visa depends on the course duration, and the student should prove that his intent is not for settle down in US after the program. GRE and TOEFL might be necessary or might not be for M1 visa. It depends on the organization or the university which is offering the course. And just like for F1, even M1 needs to get the I-20 before applying for visa. After M1 visa, you can apply for OPT, but it's very restricted. Let's take a look at M1's OPT. M1 OPT is nothing like F1 OPT. It is more restricted and is for a limited period. OPT period is just for 1/5 of your course duration. For example, if you are here for a pilot course for 5 months, you only get a OPT just for a month. Moreover, OPT places more clutter for M1 than F1. You can explore other visas, but you might not be able to do so due to the time limit after your course. So moreover, F1 is more famous because of this reason, because it permits you to stay for 3 years after your course and work, and in the meantime, you can get other visas without much trouble. Now let's go to employment visas. Among the employment visas, H1B visa is more trendy. For H1B visa, you need a employer sponsorship, which means you can't apply for your own visa. There should be an employer who is willing to sponsor a visa, and there should be a proper job available for you in US for your skill set. For this visa, you can have intent to settle or stay in US, that's no problem at all. The visa is maximum initial period of 3 years, which means you can get a visa for 3 years as long as you have the work available for 3 years or more. But if you don't have work for 3 years, you might not get initial 3 years period as it says. There are so many instances where visa has been given only for 1 month and you have to extend after that. The beauty of this visa is you can extend this visa up to 6 years as long as you have a valid job and employer. There is a way to stay after 6 years of a H1B visa through green card processing. We'll discuss about the green card processing in later videos. And let's come back to H1B visas. The advantage of the H1B visa is you can change the employer if you like to, but the new employer who would like to hire you must sponsor and initiate the visa transfer for you. Now let's discuss about another employment type of visas, which are L1A and L1B. L1A and L1B visas are intra-company visas, which means you don't have permission to change the employer. But the good thing about L1A, L1B visas are you can have intention of immigration. That means you can apply for green card for these visas as well. And the main difference between L1A and L1B are L1A is meant for executives and managers of a company, and L1B is for specially knowledged. The special knowledge can be either a technical or business knowledge. It can be anything. The initial duration of this visa is 3 years. It can be extendable for 2 years after the initial length. The maximum duration of the stay under this visa is 7 years. Under L1, you can apply for green card processing just like H1B, but you are not permitted to stay in US based on your green card application. L1A and L1B visa holder should pursue other visa options before it expires, as it can't be extended beyond 7 years. Now let's talk about temporary business and visitor visas. Both B1 and B2 are similar in nature in terms of stay and total duration of the visa. But the main difference is, for B1 visa, you can come for temporary business activities, like you can come for a contract negotiations or simple business or technical activities. But for B2 visa, you are not allowed to do any job, but you can come to visit your family or on tourism basis. But you should not be working for B2 visa. That's the main difference for B1 and B2. Initially, the visa is granted for both of them for 10 years by default. But you should not stay more than 6 months per one stay. But you can extend this at any time with the prior approval from the USCIS. There is also a cool down period for these B visas. You have to wait for the period of your last stay in the US before coming back to the US. This limit is not hard enforced rule, but you can be denied entry into the US because of the reason. Now let's discuss about extraordinary visa or O1 visa. O1 is recently got into news in India, but visa is issued only for extraordinary ability people. You need to prove that you are extraordinary. There are multiple categories for that. So these abilities might need proofs like Oscar Award nominations, Nobel Prize nominations, or national and international level championships. This is targeted at very specific individuals with extraordinary abilities. This is not for everyone. Just like H1B, you can intend to come to US based on long-term immigration in mind, and also you can transfer and change to another employer. But you need to get a sponsor for your employment change, and they have to transfer the visa. The initial duration of this visa is 3 years. It can then be extended for a period of 1 year indefinitely. There is no maximum duration of this visa. You can extend whenever you like. You can also apply for green card processing or apply for other visas after this O1 visa. Now let's discuss about exchange visas. Exchange visas are introduced for cultural and professional exchange between the countries. This visa is well known in many universities in India, which offers international studies for a particular period. You shouldn't have the intent to stay in US for the long term for these visas. This can be either educational, internship, or any other form of employment for temporary period. The duration of J1 visa depends on the initial term requested by the organization. This can be extended, but usually these programs are not for multiple years. Transfer of J1 visa to another organization is eligible, but it does come with many restrictions and documentation. Okay, we discussed many visas and multiple visas and how they can enter into the US. But what about the dependents like spouse or kids? So how do they enter in US? Yes, for them, US also provides dependent visas. And these are labeled with your visa initial based on the primary visa holder. And the visa types are H4, which is given for H1B dependents, L2, which is given for L1A and L1B dependents, F2 for F1, M2 for M1, O3 for O1, and J2 for J1. These are assigned for spouses and kids of a primary applicant only, and not for the parents. These visas are dependent on primary visa holder. As long as the primary visa holder has a valid status, these visas are eligible for extension. None of these visas are eligible to work permit. This is the main drawback. There are few scenarios where H4 spouse can work, but we'll discuss that in green card process. In next video, we'll discuss who is eligible for green card and what's the process. There are many Indians waiting for the green card processing in US, and they're waiting forever. Let's see why it's famous and what are the benefits of green card over a visa. In our next video, we'll talk about green card and green card processing, both for family and employment based, and discuss about green card benefits. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope you're enjoying the content. Please comment if you have any suggestions and topics that you would like me to discuss. Subscribe and click on the bell icon for more updates. Do like and share the video.